Our speaker is Berian Elias, and he works for the People's Collection Wales program and is based at the National Library of Wales. And his role as a community engagement officer is focused on providing training and support for individuals, groups, and organizations to document and share materials that reflect Welsh history and heritage. So we're excited to have him here, and I'll go ahead and let him get started.
Good afternoon or good evening from Aberystwyth. Thank you very much for the invitation to speak to you today. My name is Berian Elias. I work for the People's Collection Wales. I'll give you a brief overview of who we are and what we do. The People's Collection Wales is a Welsh Government-funded programme, and it's run in partnership between the National Library of Wales, where I'm based as a role as a community engagement officer, the National Museum of Wales, and the Royal Commission on the Ancient and Historical Monuments of Wales. And I believe you recently had a presentation from my colleague Rina from the Royal Commission a while back, covering a little part of what People's Collection provides. So my role with the People's Collection is to provide the support and encourage people to document, digitise and share the material related to Wales, Welsh history, Welsh heritage, and make it available online through our online platform for, well, the beauty of sharing it and making it available for others to learn about Wales and various stories connected to Wales. Also as resources for research and for education as well. So yes, so touching on that, so the entire mission of People's Collection is to encourage and enable people to share their story, rather than having these sort of gatekeepers to our history. The entire idea is that kind of grassroots sort of approach of giving the voice to anyone to provide their interpretation of their own history, of their community, of that builds up to the nation. So it's that idea of from the personal, let's say the family, to the community, to the local and regional, national and international, and how there's always a thread between those. So by giving people the opportunity and the means to share their story and a place to share it from, that's our role. So today I'm just going to go through the website itself and giving examples of kind of materials that we have that you might find interesting, and also the various sort of the range of material that we have as well, and how that is structured on the site. And hopefully that'll give you a good idea then how to visit the site yourself, search, discover, learn, and as well, if you have material to contribute, obviously it's open for anyone to contribute as well. So this is the homepage of the site, and as you can see, we've been drawing attention to various thematic collections on the site, and below a few items and contributors that we draw attention to. So I should point out that the People's Collection itself, as a program, doesn't take any ownership over the material that are shared on the platform. We are merely providing that platform for people to share, and when material is uploaded, people are uploading into their own account or profile. So to give you two examples here, that also gives it an idea of the range of material that we have shared with us. So this is an example of a profile page. So every item that you will come across on the site is uploaded into a profile. So this provides a digital presence for whether it be an individual, a community group, a project, or an organization. They can have that presence for themselves, and it provides a legacy as well. So as an example, Sgwmer Island Archive. Sgwmer, an island just off the coast of Pembrokeshire, quite renowned for its wildlife. As we see there, over half the world's population of Manx shearwater nests on the island. So a lot of their work as wardens and such are volunteer-based. And one of their projects over the past couple of years was to document and digitise and share material that they have on as part of the island's archive. Another example here, just a quick example. development of contemporary dance in Wales. So again, this is a project that we've been working with over the past couple of years to draw attention to the richness and the development of contemporary dance companies, including the contemporary dance company in Wales, and Diversions was another, and tracing their history from the early 80s to today. So here we have various oral history recordings or interviews, various programs of their productions. So it's a really rich collection. So that's just two examples of the kinds of projects and groups that we've worked with. But as you'll soon see, that range is really quite wide. So if you ever, hopefully you'll go to the website following this presentation. And if you go to the collection, so the collection, as it were, that tab opens up a window and an interface to search, find, discover, learn any item that has been uploaded on the site. So obviously here, there are various gateways to be able to find what you're after. Currently, we have just under 160,000 items on the site. That is a mixture of materials from national institutions such as the National Library of Wales, right down to your next door neighbour. Essentially, that's the remit that we cover. And the way that the site has been structured is essentially it's a threefold. So the real nuts and bolts, the bedrock to the entire website is items. So I'll quickly show an example of what an item looks like. So an item can be a photograph, like in this case. It could be an audio recording, a video recording, even a digitally native PDF, for instance, a letter, document, whatever it might be. So the item level on the site looks very much like this. So we have the digital item itself, in this case, a photograph from 1924, a title, the Women's Peace Appeal Delegation to America at the White House, and below it, a description, giving some more context, a bit more information about that photograph. And below, a few more fields of information, such as who it was uploaded by, when it was uploaded, counters, how many times it's been viewed, who created it, who owns it, other fields of metadata that gives the origins of that item or to add more information to it, as well as various categories and tags associated with that item. Quickly, just to show a few of the various examples of items. Here, we were just discussing this briefly earlier. So this is it's quite an interesting one. So a canned Drustan Gwynfan. So it's essentially it's a manuscript, and it's housed in the Rosenbach Museum and Library in Philadelphia. And essentially it's an autobiography, but in prose form, in a poem by a gentleman that migrated to America, in the 18th century. It's a fantastic example of that link between Wales and America. You can see here a bit more information about that item. So these two examples of it, for instance, like this one, is obviously from a collection housed in a library. But as I mentioned, our remit goes right down to the individual who might have items in a shoebox in the attic. That's always the sort of mantra kind of thing. So here's another example of an item postcard, the Miller Rubber, Akron, Ohio. Again, description by in this case Elaine DC on the Craden, giving a little bit of context to that to that postcard. We'll come back to this in a bit as well. So that's an example of an item. So if I go back to the main page here, and as we see, we also have collections and stories as well. So collections and stories are essentially items that have been curated or collated by a user that has a profile on the site. And one thing that's, again, a key feature of People's Collection is the idea of repurposing. And so Raina touched this with the memory archive when she was explaining a bit more about that. The idea is that any item that has been uploaded to People's Collection can be repurposed in various incarnations of collections or stories. So say if I had a story to tell, but I don't have any images or audio clips or documentation to help illustrate that, I can use material from the website to help tell that story. So if I go to an example here of a collection. So in this case, come back to that image of Anna Griffiths at the Welsh Women's Peace Appeal in the 1920s, early 1920s. So this has brought together a lot of items on the site that help illustrate that story. And with that, we have a bit more context in the description field and a link to all the items that have been drawn together into to help tell that story. To give you a bit of hopefully you'll go to the site and read a bit more about this, but the Women's Peace Appeal was well, this trip to America was on the back of an appeal, a petition that Anna Griffiths and a colleague, well, as you can see here, essentially a door-to-door campaign to get women to sign this peace appeal following the First World War, to essentially to encourage the nations to hopefully never to face that situation again. And that door-to-door appeal through Wales had over 390,000 signatures. So that appeal went over then to America to gather support, and see here another item link to that shows the route that they took right across the country. Another example of a collection, St. David's Day Banquet, Pittsburgh, PA. So the St. David's Day banquets in Pittsburgh. So here we have a collection of 25 items of all the programs for those events, which each hold fantastic bit of information. And see here the program and the scheduling. So these collections are sort of act as, again, sort of a landing page, but hopefully to get people to engage further with related items that are a part of the same story. This is an example of a story page. So a story page acts a little bit differently to a collection page. If you imagine the collection pages more as galleries, really, more on the visual side of getting people to engage with those items. The story page allows for more of a narrative-driven text piece or article to help explain a story in more of a perhaps in a sort of coordinated fashion. So in this case, again, coming back to that postcard of the mill in Akron, Ohio. So this tells the story of Albert Craddon and his time in America from 1928 to 1934. So again, it's more of a narrative-driven text that tell the story of Albert. And this was written, by Elaine, an ancestor of his. So again, allowing that personal approach for people to tell either their or their family's story through an online platform like this. I'm going to jump right back to the collection. So that just gives you an idea of the structures of how material is structured on the site, through sort of item level up to collection and stories. Again, the ways of finding those items, collections, and stories can be done through this the main interface. So as you see here, you're able to filter whether you're looking for an item, a collection, or a story. You can also filter, are you looking for images, documents, audio, video, or other kind of materials. And below that, we have categories that are built into the site to help people filter down the search results that they might come across based on more on thematic natures. So as you can see, art and craft, community and social, nature environment, and so on and so on, and also via time periods as well. And to the sides, you can see in the brackets how many items are held, say, on the 1930s, 3,869. And as you're filtering through materials, so if I say maps, for instance, if I go down to periods, that filters down to so dynamically changes that numerical value as well. So you have an idea of how many maps of, say, the 1820s that are related on the site. All these filters show up in little blue emblems on the top there, and you can get rid of those as you like. And an obvious way of searching through the site is through keyword searches. So all the information that's been provided, so the title, the description, any tags or other information that's been provided, the keyword function looks at those and responds in kind to the search results that you'll receive. I should point out as well that all the information that is provided on People's Collection is done so from the contributors. That we do have a moderation stage. So when people are publishing material on the site, it doesn't go straight live. There is a moderation stage. We look out for any obvious inaccuracies, but mostly for any data protection issues or copyright issues that might warrant for us to get in contact with a contributor, just to clear things up, to make sure that we try to be a trusted, responsible publisher of materials. So the entire point of things going up on the site is for it to be there for the long term and to be archived and accessible to everyone. So if I go broad and type in America, this gives us 680 items find with that word America either in the title, description, or any other part of the information that's been provided. I can then filter that if I go food and drink. So that gives us, a bit more digestible, 5 items to have a look at. And you can see here we have 4 items and 1 story. Just what happens, the Albert Creighton story has come up here. I think the reason being, was he was out in America for a time. He was going on with selling, I think it was ice cream and coal on the streets. So that's why that has been linked to that food and drink category. Just to give another example here. So this is quite an interesting item. So Captain Skinner's splayed fork. So a beautiful image, and this is from the Holyhead Maritime Museum in Holyhead in Ynys Anglesey. So this item is part of their collection. You can see in the description here we have a bit of context, bit of background to that item, and how he lost his arm during the American Revolutionary War whilst on the HMS Phoenix, and this fork was developed to help him to enable him to eat with his remaining arm. If I scroll down here as well, this gives us an example of, again, drawing these threads between items and collections. So if an item resides in a collection or a story, it will show up here. So this item also appears in. If I click on that, that will take me to the wider collection related to that item that was pulled together by the museum. And I would encourage as well the Holyhead Museum, Maritime Museum collection. They've got some fantastic items and stories, like really well told and well researched. So go back to the collection here. So that's the main way people tend to search and find things on sites. But there is another approach, and my favorite, and I can spend hours like this. And I'm like most people, always fascinated with the idea of a place and a time. So every item on the site can be geolocated, and not only in Wales but internationally as well. So if I think back to the Skomer Island, if I go here, as you can see, the majority of their collection has been geolocated. So I can click on one of these little pegs, and on the side, it gives me a list of those items that I can then click and go to that item page. If you're searching the map and looking at Wales, there's another sort of added benefits as well, or extra features. So as part of the mapping feature, obviously we have this modern map. We also have obviously the satellite image, but we also have layered into that the Ordnance Survey, so historical mapping of Wales. So in this case, Scumber Island. So the first edition OS, so 1868 to 1892, right up to, if I click on the fourth edition, obviously the Scumber Island hasn't changed that much. But if I were to if I go back to the first edition for a second, somewhere like, here we are, Swansea, for instance, and see if I jump to fourth edition, you can see the density of those cities, and you can see those in those layers of maps, especially in the Welsh valleys, the impact of industry in those areas. Another layer in the map is the tithe map. So these were sort of parish maps around the 1840s to 1860s, and they were essentially maps to document the landowners, or people that were renting land and land use, to inform landowners then how much tax or tithe they had to pay. Again, wonderful maps. And one thing that's quite interesting about these maps compared with, say, what we're used to now with OS maps, with tithe maps, I can see some of those field numbers on the side here. So each cartographer had their own patch, and north didn't really necessarily point up on their map, so that they were obviously from a particular approach of drawing out those maps. Back to the Google map, or the Bing map. As I mentioned, the modern map like this is international. So a little tour to see what we can discover. So some of my this is something I really enjoy doing, is to just go around and then find items on the map that might catch my eye. And one of my favorites, in fact, is this one here. It seems to be in the middle of the ocean. It's in Cabo Verde. If I click on that, that will open another tab for me. So this was a letter sent by David Gwilym Rhys and William Gwilym Rhys to their parents from whilst on board a ship traveling to Patagonia. As I'm sure many of you know, in the 1865 and to the end of the 19th century, a lot of people moved to not only North America, but also to Patagonia to start the Wladva, the colony there. So this one letter as part of a series. So these two brothers were going out to Patagonia to settle their brother's estate, who their older brother sadly passed away whilst out there. So this letter, so it's also been transcribed. In this case, it's in Welsh, but we have a description here. And again, this has been curated into a collection, giving a bit more information about the story of that family and their connection to Patagonia. back to the map. We'll keep on going. Yeah, we have. I believe there's one here that I wanted to show you. So, Mr. and Mrs. Henry on their wedding day in St. Kitts and Nevis. And see from this item page, also a link to the map as well there. Again, a bit more description to the item and a link to collections that this item has been linked to. Firstly, Mr. John Henry. So this is, again, a story page telling the story of John Henry growing up in Antigua, moving to St. Kitts, the island hopping, and coming to the UK. He eventually settled in Newport and the Caribbean community in Newport. And we worked with Age Alive in Newport, a group there, as part of the Backyard project, to document and again give voice to the Afro-Caribbean community in Newport. So from this page, this profile page, there are several stories from told by the people themselves of their experiences of migrating to Wales. If I go a bit more towards your neck of the woods, and see there's a lot. We've worked with quite a few groups and projects in North America, which is fantastic. As hopefully you'll see as you're having an explore. Little pins are popping up all over the shop, and I wanted to show one example that I also is the most incredible photograph. Here we are. So y Gymanfa Ganu, 1920, the 26th annual. So Gymanfa Ganu, the singing festival. So obviously in North America, and the North American Festival of Wales is still going, and then there's still that really strong connection to Wales. So this photograph taken in 1957 shows the sheer quantity of societies and individuals with that are taking part in that. So it's such a beautiful photograph as well. And this was uploaded by the North American Festival of Wales, and I know that the North American Association as well have a lot of material on the site. Moving a little bit north, I did have a look, in that area, obviously in Pittsburgh, and obviously Akron will see that postcard again where that's been located. So essentially what I'm trying to get at is by free roaming around the map, you never know quite what you might come across, and through those item pages you gain access to potentially collections, stories, and the uploaders themselves, and you might come across material that of interest to you, that individual has uploaded. So going back to that postcard we saw earlier, if I go to the link to the uploader himself, so they have their own, as an individual, have their own profile page, and see 42 items that they have uploaded, ranging from various family history, photographs, documentation, and stories that are and objects as well, that she wanted to share. If I cross the border, I did want to point towards some of these audio recordings. Like as mentioned, there's a lot of audio and video material on the site. So this is one interview as part of quite a large collection recorded by Glynis James. So Glynis James went to Canada in the 1974, 1972, I think, 74. To interview individuals and groups with a link to Wales. So whether they be immigrants themselves or first or second generation immigrants, and essentially trying to capture that that sense of a Welsh identity and how it's survived or not in Canada. And there's interviews across Canada. If I go to the collection here, gives us a bit more context to that collection. Again, a bit more background to the tapes themselves. So these tapes are housed in the National Library of Wales. I was lucky enough to work on these tapes as a cataloguer as part of the Unlocking a Sound Heritage project, which was a British Library-led project across the UK between, well, a couple of years ago, so like a 3-year project. And its remit was to digitise, safeguard audio material that was at risk of being lost. These interviews were on reel-to-reel tapes or cassette tapes, and various other collections as well, even on mini discs that are now deemed to be at risk. So that was the thrust of that project. So these interviews were all digitized and safeguarded, and majority of them were also made available through the People's Collection Wales. So through this collection, gain access to an awful lot of what was captured. I highly recommend listening to Glenys James to A.H. Davies, or Nan Davies. It's in 2 parts, and it's one of the best interviews I've ever heard in my life. It's incredible, and the story of Nan Davies is it's like a movie. It's quite incredible. Another part of this project and an aspect of People's Collection as a platform. Obviously, we have materials that speak to to show the history and heritage, but we're also capturing contemporary responses to that as well. So as part of the Unlocking the Sound Heritage project, many musicians were commissioned to write original pieces of music in response to some of these interviews. So if I go to this one as an example. I'll just
Waith yn galw mŵr I ffwrdd ymhell tu draw i'r llwch I blaen. Symai Gwilym Berian Rhys dwi, a dyma fy nghyfraniad I at brosiect datgloi ein treftadaeth sy'n cael ei drefnu gan y Llyfrgell Genedlaethol. Oedd rhaid I ni ymateb yn gerddorol I rhai o'r recordiadau o'r archif, a nes I ddewis ymateb I recordiad cyfweliad o dynes o'r nhw Nan Davies. Oedd Nan yn dod o Langenech yn wreiddiol, ond nath hi a'i gŵr symud I Orllewin Canada ar ddechrau'r 20th ganrif. Oedden nhw wedi cyrraedd yr bwthyn yn y mynyddoedd yn y Rocky Mountains, lle oedd wedi cael ei gadael iddyn nhw, ond oedd hi'n yn oer, oedd gen nhw'n byd I losgi neu gwres. Oedd hi, mae'n debyg yn 50 gradd Celsius o dan y rhewbwynt. Oedd ei gŵr wedi cael frostbite a wedi colli blaen I fyser I gyd. A oedd rhaid iddo fo fynd o'na. A nath Nan roi genedigaeth, oedd hi'n disgwyl, nath hi roi genedigaeth i'r baban ma. Ag oedd rhaid I gysgu efo... nath hi'n fagu'r baban am 5 mis ar ei phen ei hun, ond nath y babi farw. A doedd na neb efo hi, oedd rhaid I gysgu efo'r corff marw ma am rhai dyddiau cyn I unrhyw un ddod I roi cymorth iddi. Felly stori anhygoel o drist. A nath o gael effaith yn y fi pam nes I glwad hi ei hun Nan Davies yn deud yr hanes. Felly dyma fy ymateb cerddorol I at y cyfweliad yna. Felly dyma dagrau ar yr eira. Syllu ar y gorwel, o fwrdd llaeth y llong.
I'll leave it there, and I hope you come back to, or when you go back and have a search through those various responses to some of those stories that were captured and shared through People's Collection. as mentioned, so these audio collections are held in Aberystwyth, but shared through People's Collection. So it brings us back to Aberystwyth. Shortly, on the website itself, so we do have help pages on how we support, how to use the site, and also guidance and help pages of how you can get involved with the People's Collection as well, how you can open an account for yourself, how to upload and share material that you might have that would help enrich the collection that we hold. If you have any interest in getting involved and sharing, please feel free to get in touch. And we have, wonders of modern technology. We're able to conduct sort of support sessions and guidance and training online. So we do work. Our work doesn't stop with the border of England. So we do work groups across the globe. And I'll stop there, if that's okay.
Thank you very much for presenting. We have some questions for you. Betty asks, she says she's coming to Wales in mid-October, and she's wondering if you might have some suggestions regarding getting started in person.
Oh, right. Well, I would advise you to go to the National Library. So it's the main sort of archive in Wales, and they do have specialist staff to help with that genealogy research. I would recommend them through the inquiry pages of the National Library to get in touch ahead of time to give a bit of heads up and give an idea of what they're looking for, and it'll be then being able to help and schedule an in-person sort of consolidation and help with that.
The next question is, what are some of the preservation efforts for the language related to People's Collection Wales?
Well, as far as preservation of the collection themselves, so we, as National Library Wales is a partner with the People's Collection, and they are responsible for archiving digital collections across Wales. So we do have a preservation policy with the National Library to make sure that all the material that is published with us is made available. As far as obviously People's Collection as a program as well is a bilingual program. So material, so the site has a mirror, so we have an English side and a Welsh side, and as you heard there, we do have materials through the medium of Welsh, as well as other languages as well, that reflect the population of Wales.
Do you partner with any schools, or kind of what is the People's Collection Wales relationship with the school system?
That's quite an interesting question. So we do have an educational officer, Catalina. One area of the site that I didn't touch on this afternoon, sorry, was the learn side of the site. So our learn officer works directly with schools and teachers and educators across Wales and beyond to create education resources for use in classrooms and adult learning as well. As well as that, Wales does have a digital platform for schools as well called Hub. So this is a digital platform that all the schools in Wales have access to. Now, obviously, it's safeguarded to make sure that the material that the kids can have access to is controlled. But we are partners with that. So all the material on People's Collection is drawn through into this educational digital hub, as to provide resources to be used within the classroom as well. So Catalina, the Learn Officer's sort of role with that is to strengthen that approach to create resources and lesson plans and stuff like that to help the teachers. For instance, there is a fantastic oral history resource for schools to use to capture oral histories of people in their community with the children.
Our next question is related to reaching out to the elderly in the community to gain more insight into the language, and if that's something that you do, what does it look like, or kind of how does that work?
Most of our work is kind of reactive, really. We are lucky enough to have a lot of groups, projects, individuals coming to us with ideas for projects, and then we support them by providing training and means of collecting those material. So that might be giving them, a general introduction to how to go about conducting or planning and conducting an oral history project, for instance, and all the the various considerations that are involved with that, with data protection, technical means, the documentation, as well as the equipment as well. So we do have an equipment loan service for individuals, groups, projects, to be able to go out there and collect those kind of stories. So we're always keen to make sure that any project that we work with will tailor our support to fit their objectives, and more and more often now we are working with projects with oral history in mind. I think as technology become cheaper and people become a bit more comfortable with using technology, it is that thing of, if you don't capture it now, it might be lost forever. So trying to really encourage that.
For people in the United States who might have materials to contribute, how can they do that? And is the organization looking for specific materials like people speaking or singing, or what's the collection policy?
Again, it's interesting because our collection policy is essentially governed by what people want to share. The idea of it's the people's collection. So what do they constitute as a way of reflecting their personal story, their family story, or the community story, whether that be through collecting historical materials, or a more creative approach of capturing sort of oral testimonies and songs and so on. And as far as contributing, so the website is completely open for anyone to be able to contribute. So we again, for that question, please get in touch. We do have contact us, or directly if you don't mind. Feel free to share my email. Happy to go through the process of uploading to the site. I suppose the one there the equipment that we can loan is all the way over here. But if you have, a scanner at home, or even a camera, a camera phone, even sometimes is enough to just capture that image or document or whatever it might be, and that can be then shared on People's Collection.
Wanted to thank you again very much for presenting and all of the great information that you shared, and thank you everybody for attending. I hope everybody has a good day. All right, bye-bye.
Yeah. Take care.